You're listening to the Self-Made is a Myth, Make a Difference Together show with your host, Coach Tim Campsall, where we talk with successful business owners to hear the stories of their journeys in building their successful businesses. And more importantly, we recognize the folks who help them excel because we know that achieving business success is not something we can do on our own.
Hello, everyone. This is Coach Tim Campsall, and I'm excited to have a fellow business owner from Indiana with us today. Something unique about my guest is that she has an uncanny ability to be able to see things in different perspectives that helps others as well as the business situation that they see themselves in. In her downtime, she is a business owner, so downtime is not as much as we might like it to be, but she enjoys biking and taking walks in the warmer months and reading in the cooler months. And she is most proud of the relationships that she's built in and through her business. It's my pleasure to welcome Michelle to the show today. Hi, Michelle.
Hi.
Awesome. Well, hey, let's start with having you introduce yourself. Tell us your name and a little bit of your personal story, like where you were born and live and about your family.
My name's Michelle Colbert. I was born in Doylestown, Pennsylvania. My parents moved me to West Virginia when I was just a baby. So for the first 15 years of my life, I lived in West Virginia. Then I got moved to North Carolina, where I spent about 20 years, met my husband, got married, and then we moved again. So we've lived in Wisconsin, northern Indiana, and now we live in the Indianapolis region. So when we moved, I was a dental assistant in North Carolina. And when we moved, I went back to school for my bachelor's, finished my bachelor's at IU South Bend, and then just my bachelor's was in small business and entrepreneurship, one, and human resource management. But it was 2008 when the economy took a dive. So kind of just went back into the dental field, teaching, office manager, just kind of did it. I've done everything except for hygiene and being the dentist in the dental office. I've got a lot of experience in that world for sure.
Fantastic. So having lived in so many places, your accent probably gets a little merged with different regions. Is that fair?
My accent is actually just stuck with North Carolina.
Okay.
Now, when I'm around my family, I am the youngest of five, and when I'm around my family in West Virginia, I tend to have that sort of East Coast accent that will come in, depending on who I'm around.
All
I
right.
will take on my brother's mannerisms if I'm around him or my sister, and I come back home and my husband says, "Can you go back to normal?"
That's awesome. Michelle, is there a funny story that your family likes to tell about you that you'd be willing to share with us today?
I think probably the funniest story that I can remember is when I was younger. I had colic really bad when I was a baby, and my mother, I think it was my mother, is possibly my father. My father's got a great sense of humor. Called me Screechy Meechy, and so the nickname Meech kind of stuck.
Uh,
So my brother and sisters all call me Meech. When my nephews were first beginning to speak, they couldn't say Michelle, so they would say Aunt Meech. And when I called my sister's house one time, my nephew was probably about 14, and I said, "Hi," I said, "It's your Aunt Michelle." He says, "I don't have an Aunt Michelle." And I said, "Aunt Meech?" And he said, "Well, why'd you say Aunt Michelle?" That's probably the funniest story.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Sure.
Michelle, tell us how'd the business come about, and at what point did you have the confidence that you could run your own business?
When I was at IU South Bend, Professor Wiley was my small business and entrepreneurship instructor. And we had a project in that class to come up with a business plan, come up with, something. I worked for a dental staffing agency in North Carolina. And as you said earlier, I do have a unique ability to see how things could possibly run smoother or better. So I came up with the idea then, which was, well, I graduated in 2008 with my bachelor's. So I'd say it was 2006, 2007 was the idea, the seed kind of went
Wow.
with, hey, I can do this. I came up with a business name actually at that time, but it didn't really come into fruition until 2018. I started the business in 2019. Basically knowing that I could do this. I did some market research, obviously, and had a lot of help along the way. A lot of help. Husband, my CPA, which is that was actually my husband's CPA. A lot of advice, a lot of encouragement. I would hands down not be where I am without my current CPA, who has been a godsend. So, he knows a little bit about everything. So it's good.
Michelle, tell us a little bit more about the company. What's the name? What do you guys do? How do you help folks?
The name of it is Dental Assist LLC. And help staff offices, generally speaking, with subs or temps. If someone's out on vacation, if someone's out sick, maternity leaves, a lot of times that happens. So I work with assistants and I work with hygienists. On a smaller note, sometimes I have front desk people, but not always. It's a little more difficult with front desk. People do not generally need a sub for front desk. They want a full-time person.
Mm.
Um, Sometimes I am able to help with permanent staffing, but it generally comes about by them subbing in the office first.
Mm.
And then they turn around and they just, oh my gosh, I love this office. Come, Michelle, I want to go work for them. And I'm like, and they're like, I'm sorry. And I'm like, don't be sorry. My goal in this business has always been to help the office meet their staffing needs,
Mm.
and to help an individual like I was in North Carolina that wants to make a few extra bucks on their day off, pay for a vacation. Maybe they need, you know, new tires, as simple as that, and maybe that extra just helps,
Mm.
and that's always been my goal.
That's wonderful. Michelle, share a story where someone pushed you or inspired you that you could do it, even though maybe you didn't think that you could, and the impact they had on you.
Um, two people probably really helped me. I would say my brother uh, encouraged me. We used to share war stories, so to speak. He's in hotel management. He's higher up now than he was, but he was in hotel management, and I was working for a higher education teaching program director of dental assisting, and we were just kind of spouting off. My husband was in Mexico, and he said, well, sis, he said, we're never going to um, be happy working for someone else.
Mm.
And I hung the phone up, and I thought, hmm, he might be right. So so I called my husband in Mexico, and I said, hey, what do you think about this? And he said, go for it, hon. He said, I'll give you the seed money, the startup money. He said, but you are going to be, responsible for doing the market research. Make sure that there is a market out there for it. Make sure that you know basically what to do, how to do it, that sort of thing. And he said, but you get that down pat. He said, I gotcha. So
Ah,
I would say both of those very, very encouraging. My husband's always been my strongest supporter. Um, when I get stuck, he started his own business in a travel agency. He's been doing that for 17 years. So when I get into a stuck place, I would say maybe stagnant,
Hmm.
not new offices or not new personnel, or the personnel isn't the quality maybe, or the attitude that I'm looking for, because I am picky. It's my business. I'm allowed to be. And so I'll bounce ideas off of him. And so has always been the one that, has said, okay. And to be quite honest with you, Tim, has encouraged me to look for a business coach. So
Wonderful. What an awesome support network and family to come alongside you and can encourage you and motivate you, and it makes a big difference to have that support at home, doesn't it?
yes, it does. Yes, it does.
So what's the biggest learning that you've had as a business owner?
I think learning to years ago, I talked with a counselor, and I think the biggest learning curve that I've had, and the biggest challenge, has always been to keep my expectations set high, but be okay when I don't reach the level that I have,
Uh-huh.
and be okay when someone has a flat tire that morning, or their child is sick, and be okay with that, and understand that life happens, and we can't all be 100% of the time. It's so not lowering the expectations, but
Mhm.
being okay when life happens,
Yeah.
and I think that has been my biggest challenge. I think I do a lot better at it, but I still am the point. I also golf, so I would say, you know, uh, I want a certain thing for myself, and when I can't do it, I get frustrated. So
Yeah.
learning to deal with the frustrations, with the smile on your face, and explaining, articulate enough for offices and personnel to
Yeah.
just kind of, I don't want anyone to ever feel like I'm not approachable.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of, I've had, that's been a challenge for
Yeah.
sure. But I'm still working towards it. I'd say I'm doing better.
Isn't it frustrating that that stupid life gets in the way?
Yes.
I,
Yes.
I,
Your phone dies.
yeah, yeah, the
your,
flat tire. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
I got a lot of flat tires. I mean, it is Indiana, and
yeah,
people actually send me pictures of them on the roadside, because I think they think I don't believe them.
right?
Which, or they're just saying, "Hey, this is true." I'm not making this up.
Yeah.
Because you do get people with. You got to weigh that as well. With the, are you pulling my leg, or are you,
Right.
are you
Yes.
sure, because if you get a flat tire every single time I put you in an office,
Right.
then we've got a problem. So,
I like what you said about, but not lowering your expectations. So the idea of this is what the standard is, and I'm going to hold everybody accountable to this standard, because as soon as we lower the standard, then people, they lower what their deliverables are. So I love what you're saying of keep the standard, but be flexible to life happens, and accidents happen, and un unexpected things happen that get in the way.
correct, correct.
So, Michelle, we know that business success doesn't happen in isolation. So, tell us about one of your biggest challenges during the years of being a business owner, and maybe a fellow colleague or business owner came alongside you and helped you through that.
I would say that when I started in 2019, was kind of really completely different than what it has morphed into, which is good. It's a good thing. But I didn't have anyone on my payroll.
Mm,
So of course, I had liability as a business owner, but I didn't have anyone on my payroll. The offices would pay me a certain fee, and they would pay the sub at the end of the day.
okay.
I had hygienists coming sub-hygienist coming to me and not working for me. And I found out by one of my subs. I said, why, what's going on? And they said, they're 1099ing us, which is technically illegal in the dental world. No one is an independent contractor except for the dentist. So they said, you need to get us on payroll. You start us on payroll, and we'll work for you.
Mm.
And so that was a very big challenge. I undertook that in, believe it or not, January of 2020, and then COVID hit.
Oh,
So so
yeah.
it was a pretty interesting time to try to work through those things. But I did have, and I still have, very great relationships with some of my hygienists that encourage me to change things a little bit, to do things a little bit differently. And the challenge has always been to get the offices to accept those changes. So,
Sure.
um, it is an environment that I don't know if there's ever going to be enough hygienists. I don't know if there's ever going to be enough assistants. People get older, people retire, people go into something different. They don't do the same things, the same repetitive motions. But yeah, and yes, my CPA has been tremendous with that. Has helped me obtain the payroll company that I use now, and that's been a lifesaver. I've been through three payroll companies, and so this one's here to stay.
Oh,
This one's
good.
this one's
Yeah.
it.
Congratulations. That's awesome. Hey, Michelle, I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit and ask you to pick 3 people in your business owner journey that that you're most grateful for them being there to help with your business's growth. So who are those 3 people and how they help you?
Mike Jameson, my CPA, is one of them for sure. Oh my goodness, he keeps my license up to date. He helped me steer me in the direction of the insurance company that I'm using, which is Hartford Insurance, for my workers' comp, for my general liability. I did have a national company actually from, and I apologize, I don't remember their names, but from LinkedIn, that said to me whenever I went to payroll, they said, you've got to have your hygienist have their own malpractice professional liability if they're not on the doctor's payroll. I had no clue about that.
Mhm.
So that was a great tidbit, so that that liability doesn't lie on me.
Mhm.
And I've had no problems with hygienist obtaining those, because it's very cheap for them.
Mhm.
I was going to cover that and found out how much it was going to cost, and I said no, I do not have that as a small business owner. And obviously my husband, he is, like I said, my biggest supporter and my biggest critic, to be honest. So he's got that ability to speak to me in a way that tells me, hey, what's working, what's not working, look at this,
Mhm.
look at that, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I would say, um, those people have helped me tremendously.
Fantastic. It's great to have all of that different variety of support and expertise to help you in your business. That's awesome. So let's shift gears and talk a little bit about the future. So, Michelle, as you think about the next 1 to 3 years, what's either your number one priority or a challenge that you see that you'll need to overcome in order to achieve your goals?
I think the number one challenge is going to be to continue to attract and retain the subs that I need
Mm.
for the demand that I see. It's Again, it's a little tricky with personalities. I am more of I have a great sense of humor, by the way, but I'm more of a cut and dry type of person.
Hmm.
Um, you know, here's an office, here's the hours, can you work it? And I expect an answer. And so when I guess what they used to call it was ghosting. I'm not real sure what they call it now. But when
Yeah.
that happens, um, I'm done. It's for me, because it's my business and it's my reputation.
Yeah.
It's uh, it's a one and done for me. So if you're not responding via text, via telephone call, via email, then you're not interested, and I'm not interested. So that has always been probably my biggest challenge, and I would say 1 to 3 years will be continue to be my biggest challenge. I generally speaking do not have any problems with the offices that I have relationships with. Obtaining new offices sometimes there's a slight um, I have an ability to know what these offices are because I get feedback from my subs.
Mm.
I also get feedback from the offices about the subs that I send. I
Yeah.
have had no complaints for my hygiene subs to speak of. Everyone has a little bit of this, a little bit of that. If someone shows up huffing in a
Sure.
plate, sometimes the dentist, goes crazy. But to speak of, I really don't have trouble. But it's continuing to not just attract and retain the best subs is a challenge. Also continue to attract and retain good offices. So mixing that mix together, I see will be a challenge. It always will be, and I'm okay with it, because that's the business, and that's what I've chosen to do. So obviously, I have to be okay with it.
Right. Yes. And you're not alone. A lot of our clients are having challenges finding good people to work for them. You mentioned it earlier, as as people are aging out of working, and there doesn't seem to be as many people coming into different key areas of the workforce that are needed. And so yeah, it's unfortunately it's been a challenge for a lot of folks that we help them navigate through that and put some best practices in place to help speed up that process of finding good people.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Michelle, last question. Jim Rohn, awesome business guru, says one of his famous quotes is that we become the average of the 5 people that we spend the most time with. So as you think about that quote, what advice would you have for newer business owners who are trying to do it on their own?
Get a good support system. You really need to, um, and I have actually helped a couple people start from scratch. So, giving a little bit of advice, not that I can help them per se, but telling them, okay, you need to, secure your bank loan. In order to secure your bank loan, make sure you know how to, put forth a business plan.
Mm.
And if you don't, get some advice on that. Get you a good CPA. Uh, and I would say, learn to be, especially in any business, really, learn to be flexible.
Mm.
Learn to understand that flexibility is very much needed. But if you don't, I personally don't have children, but so many women are doing it all, with being a wife, being a mother, having a career, and doing that balancing.
Mm.
But if you have young children, you need to have backup for whenever they are sick. whether that's I'm taking off today, husband's got to take off next week when they're sick, or you have your parents come in, that is really key. Everyone can, obviously take off a day, when their child's sick, but if you're continually, if you have a sickly child or more than one child that
Mm.
and that happens a lot, have that support system, to where, when your child gets pink eye and can't go to the daycare, what are you going to do? You can't take off a week of work. You can't, that sort of stuff. So just, having those sorts of things in place.
Mhm.
And oh my goodness, my website developer, slightly a little slow, but he was a big key as well. So finding someone that gets your business,
Mm.
and knows how that you want to portray yourself.
Yeah.
And honestly, he helped me with my get the back end first.
Mhm.
Your processes, your how are you going to invoice? How are you going to do this? What's your CRM? That was what my website developer actually helped me with,
Mm.
and sent me to different places, saying, "Hey, why don't you check this out? Why don't you check that out?" And I did, and I have incorporated them. And honestly, it was a back. And so it was harder for me,
Yeah.
because that came second. My business came first, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh dear, what do I do now?
Yes. Yes.
So my suggestion is do that first. It's a lot easier, versus going back and having to back up a little bit. So very good resources for having that relationship with him, and he's got bigger fish to fry, so I get that. He's currently working on taking my website to a WordPress, so that I can get someone else that is doing a small business, to react a little quicker. Although I will say, if there's anything ever wrong with my website currently, if I send him a text, he's right on it. So that is something. It's just the changes, I'm been wanting to do for about a year. He's kind of taking a little time. So, but honestly, he was very instrumental in helping me with my finding my CRM, finding my invoicing platform, and that sort of thing.
It's fantastic. You mentioned do it up front versus waiting. Yeah,
Ooh.
a lot of the things you talked about, right? A lot of folks don't, right,
Mhm,
take care of the systems and the processes and the procedures, and it's just sort of in their head, and they're doing it on the fly.
mhm,
And unfortunately, we can't delegate that kind of stuff because it's all in our head, right? We hear a lot, well, nobody can do the job as well as me. And that's true because all the information is in the business
mhm,
owner's head,
mhm,
right? Versus written out in a process developed or a template created or a
mhm,
CRM developed,
mhm.
right? And so the more that we can document it as we go, that way we can train other people to be able to do it as well as us.
Yes.
Mhm. You also mentioned flexibility. The interesting thing about business ownership is the path to success is not linear, right?
No, it's not. No, it's not.
And so you mentioned it a couple times of just embracing that, right? Understanding that it can be two steps forward, one step back, and right. And the one step back, it's just a normal part of the journey. And so we have to embrace it, accept it. Usually the step back is a learning opportunity, right? There's a reason that the business slowed down or something didn't turn out the way we wanted it to. And a good question to ask is what can I learn from this moment,
Yeah,
right? What's the teaching that's available here? What am I supposed to get out of this? And think of it more as failing forward, right? As opposed to failing. It's like, okay, what can I
exactly.
learn here? Yeah.
Exactly.
Awesome. Um, Michelle, it sounds like you've had some pretty incredible people in your journey. of building your business. If they were all here on the show today, what would you want to say to them?
Thank you. A big thank you. And a continual thank you. And just I think it's really odd to say probably that you consider these people your friends, but you do really, because they're more than just an acquaintance. I would say I would probably tell them how much I appreciated them, and all of their counsel and everything that they have helped me see, realize. When my when my business needs my license needs renewed, my CPA just does it. I don't even know when it's due. So it's really nice um, to be able to just not have that to worry about. To not have to send out an email that says, "Hey, what about? Did you get this? Hey, did you?" It's just taken care of, and it just makes my life easier, and they have all made my life easier, and I can't say how much I appreciate that, because that's just it's an overwhelming feeling to feel that appreciative towards someone, knowing that your business would not have been as a success without the people in place, for sure.
That is awesome. Michelle, it's been a pleasure speaking with you today. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Self-Made is a Myth show. Please help spread this movement by liking and subscribing to our show and following us on Facebook and LinkedIn. To join our movement, go to bemadtogether.com. Okay, folks, that's a wrap. Please pay it forward and be sure to tune in next time to the Self-Made is a Myth podcast.